Okay, welcome back. So we have exported our file templates from SolidWorks to the .dxf file format. We then used LibreCAD to just open that file and export it as an SVG file, which is a vector graphics format. And we've used this is Inkscape right here that you're looking at, and we've used Inkscape to view our template. This is the part 1 alpha from the videos that we've done. These are the overlap pieces. These are some pieces I went in and added these little marks, these long registration marks, like right here and right here. These indicate where part 1 Charlie begins. So 1 Charlie 1 begins, 1 Charlie 1 ends. So this is part 1 Delta. 1 Delta goes around to here, 1 Charlie 2 all the way to here. That'll help when we're making our registration marks to align this with those parts. But part 1 Bravo 1 sits right inside here, and part 1 Bravo 2 sits right inside here. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some registration marks along this to allow us to put these two pieces together and form the three-dimensional shape that we had modeled. If you recall from SolidWorks, this cut right here, we intentionally made this cut so it would be running down the middle of the relief, running right along the relief cut that we put in 1 Bravo 1. And we did that so that we could start our registration marks and work our way around here. And then when we go to part 1 Bravo 1, as long as we just start on one side of the cut and work our way around, it'll be the same. Now I have already measured this in SolidWorks, but if you wanted to measure it, let's go ahead and isolate it. Okay, we're going to Control D to make a duplicate. And we're going to move that down to our working layer. Go ahead, hide that, and then open that. So we've isolated just this curve right here. And go up to Extensions, Visualize Path, Measure, and just take a preview because we just want to peek. 600.62. So I usually like to get about 40 millimeters if I can between my registration marks. It's like 1.75 inches ish. And so if I take 16 registration marks and take that dimension. So in SolidWorks, I measured it and I got 600.65. So to split that up into 16, that's 37.54. Let me look at what I got for this again. Like this might have gotten a little bit smaller. Yeah, 600.62. Now, just out of morbid curiosity, I may have been looking at it backwards in SolidWorks. Let's see if this one isn't a little bit longer. Control D to make a duplicate, move it down to the working layer. All right, let's do an extension on, let's visualize that path, see what we get. 600.07. So even different. So we'll use what we got here. 600.62 and 600.07. So you see there is a smidge of difference between the two. Less than a millimeter, but it's still there. So it's not perfectly symmetric. So for the registration marks along here, for 600.62, if I divide it by 16, I get 37.54. So we are going to use a a path effect. So here's my path, and provided it is a path, I'll be able to do this. Go Path Effects, Add, Ruler, measure in millimeters, and as I calculated, 37.54. And just as a matter of personal preference, I like to have about 5 mils on it. Sorry, about 5 millimeters. You can set a major length and minor length. I want them to be the same because I don't need to distinguish. And it looks like they're already on the correct direction, left or right. This is the way we want them. Okay, so that's 16 registration marks. We worked our way around. So just for comparison, let's grab part 1 Bravo, throw it in here. All right. We don't care about any of that. So this part has 16 divisions. We're going to need to get 16 divisions on this part as well. So let's go ahead and measure. 599.49. Now, a keen-eyed observer will note that they're different lengths, and that's okay. Part of stretching or compressing to get the shapes to go together is how we impart forces into the flat surfaces to get our three-dimensional shape. So just doing the quick math on that. I've got a spreadsheet up that you guys can't see that I just use. I like to keep track of what I use. So 37.47 is what we want for this one. So path effects again here. Now this, you can actually reverse the direction this is going. So this says the marks are on the left, which means they're on the inside. So that means if they're on the left, it means the path, the direction of the path is from here to here, because that puts these on the left. If I can actually reverse that if I want by going up there. Because sometimes, depending on how you're doing it, you may want to change the path direction. But for this, it's unimportant because our paths, our registration marks are across one solid path, and it's not going to matter. And they're already pointing in the correct direction. So we'll go 5 millimeters there. And there we go. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So I like to isolate the registration marks. I'm not going to leave them as, this is an object in Inkscape. This is not an SVG. This is not in a format that you can export or really use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go object to path, and you'll note right away that that path effect disappeared because it's no longer an object. These are now, it's now a path with additional individual little spokes on it. And then we're going to go path break apart, and that's going to make all of these individual. So what I can do now is delete that line, which is part of the reason why I duplicated it. And you'll note that some of these registration marks occur at geometry changes, like here and here. So at the end of the day, we're not going to need those. So let's go ahead and delete them. All right, we'll go here, holding down shift will make these red, because that's the color I use for registration marks along seams. And then we're going to move those to layer registration marks, and we'll go ahead and get a lock on that so we don't accidentally move those or mess them up. And then when you look at the part, you'll see you've got your registration marks on there. I mean, this is tedious work. I totally concede that point. But if you're not using Armorsmith and you're not using Pepakura, this is how we get the stuff on there. But I just wanted to show everyone how I get the registration marks on my parts, and that's how I do it. Real quick, I'll show you how I do my overlaps. So I'll take this part and then this line right here, duplicate them, move them down to my working layer. I hide the working layer to make sure I can still see this, so that I know I'm not pulling the actual part. Okay, got that. Let's go ahead and hide our registration marks too. So what I want is I want an outline of this to be a specific color. So I'll go here. So you'll see all the nodes that are in here. We'll go ahead and simplify it with Control L. All right. Go ahead and simplify that. Now, sometimes when you simplify, the geometry may change a little bit. It may get bad or ugly. Just Control Z and undo it, and leave it the way it is. But we're going to add a node here, and we're going to break apart, and we're going to add a node there, break apart. Oh, sorry. I have to break it there. So select the node that we created, break it, and then path, break apart, delete, delete. And now I want these to be, these are two separate paths right now. I want them to be one path. So let's go ahead and highlight, switch to edit path by nodes, select all, combine, and you'll notice these tips are like nice corners right now. All right, that's how we know we've sealed this path up, okay? And then we're just we'll make it blue. I'll select it. We're gonna make it blue, and we're gonna get rid of the outline. And then we're going to move this to our overlap layer, which will lock, but we'll also set to 20% opacity. So we can still see it, but we can see what's through it or behind it. And there we go. Now, this line will eventually go away, but I'm going to create registration marks on here for overlap first. But I just wanted you to see what it looks like in the scheme of things. Like this will all be one big overlap for the mohawk, right? Whereas the mohawk not being here and not being here. But that's how I do the overlaps. I've showed you how I do the registration marks. So, I mean, between SolidWorks, making the surfaces, flattening the surfaces, doing projected curves, split lines, and now showing you how to make registration marks and doing overlaps and cleaning up your templates in Inkscape, you have all the tools you need to make your own templates. So, I mean, watching the videos, you can see that let's look at this real quick. We've got about 6 or 7 hours, 6 hours or so in SolidWorks that we've worked. I will probably spend 16 hours or so. I'll probably spend 16 hours cleaning up all these templates, adding all the registration marks and everything. So about 2 days worth of work to get us to where we need to be. But I just wanted to say, I just wanted to thank everybody for their time. And I look forward to seeing the templates you decide to make.